Right now, it is just a Groundhog's Day of misery for the New York Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. I've covered the New York Mets on this show since the 2019 season. It's the only podcast that covers the Mets 7 days a week throughout the regular season. If you want to find some of my written work, you can do so over at justbaseball.com, where I work as the editor-in-chief. Let's talk a little bit about another loss. It is frustrating, to say the least, as the Mets have lost, 9 out of 10 games now. They just cannot get out of their own way. And this game started off on a good note, as many have. But same old story. The lineup completely disappears. The starting pitcher has one bad inning and does not make it through, this time even 5, but does not pitch into the 6th inning, setting a record that dates back to 1901 for the longest stretch that a team has gone where only one starting pitcher has gone 6 innings. I mean, the state of the Mets starting rotation is futile, and it's only the second worst part about this team right now because the lineup cannot hit. Now, when we look at this game and you compound it with the way the Mets are playing, it seems a lot worse. You can actually, if you had followed it and you had looked at this game in a vacuum, like let's just say the Mets had won 8 of their last 9 going into this game, I don't even think we'd be mad about it. Honestly, Brandon Woodruff looked great. I mean, that guy, talk about someone that you might want to pursue in free agency. Although the Mets might not need any starting pitchers with the amount of top prospects that they should eventually call up next year. They have a pretty loaded rotation when it comes to just guys on a depth chart, but Brandon Woodruff was awesome. 79 pitches, 59 strikes. He gave up a home run to Juan Soto in the first inning, and then a leadoff homer to Starling Marte in the second inning. Then he gave a base hit to Jeff McNeil in the fourth, and that was it. 2 walks, 3 hits, 2 runs on the 2 solo homers. Now has a 2.29 ERA in his return from shoulder surgery. And sometimes getting off shoulder surgery is tougher than Tommy John, but apparently not for Brandon Woodruff. He was fine. He was pinpoint with his command. He was outstanding. And then you had to go up against 2 unbelievable relievers in, Abner Uribe, and then Tyler McGill's brother, Trevor, who are sporting 1.95 and 2.25 ERAs respectively. So when you look at the pitchers you went up against, little less shameful the offensive performance, but you can't just do that. All right. You have a team that needs to find some sense of urgency, and it's just not there. It's not. I'll talk about Kodai Senga a little bit in the next segment as far as what went well, but really what I think went wrong in this game is obviously one bad pitch. It gives up 2-run homer, but I think it's what happened before that bad pitch. So I'm going a little bit all over the place. But again, the Mets had the 2 home runs. That's all they get. Kodai Senga was throwing a pretty good game through the first 4. He walked a batter in the first, gave up a leadoff double in the third, but was able to strand both of those runners. Francisco Lindor helped him out in the third inning, making a really good defensive play. Ground ball. The runner was trying to advance from second to third. Fast runner in Caleb Durbin, and Lindor quick with it, fires to third base. Ronnie Mauricio puts a tag. You get the force out there. Not the force. They get the out there. And that just made it much easier for Senga to walk that tightrope in the third and navigate his way through that inning without giving up any runs. Then he has a 1-2-3 fourth inning. So Senga looked pretty good. Pitch count was low. Then there was a comebacker, or I don't even know if I'd call it a comebacker, a chopper that came out right in front of the plate, and Senga tries to go make the play. And it seemed like he came up a little bit lame. He made what was ruled an error by, I don't think he even threw that ball. I think he put it in his pocket, but he just could not field it cleanly. And I really feel like it was either he pulled something, tweaked something, or just felt like he was going to with the quick twitch that it took to get off the mound and get to that baseball. And I felt like he was walking a little bit weird to the mound. Not like any trainers went out to see him or anything. But I think that mentally sort of broke Kodai Senga, because the next pitch he throws is a lazy cutter that came across at 86 miles per hour right down the middle. Bryce Terang, might as well put it on a tee for him. He crushes it, 2-run homer, ties the game. And for reference, Kodai Senga threw his cutter at one point in this game 96 miles per hour. At one point, he averaged 91 miles per hour on his cutter. That one again came in at 86.3 miles per hour. So I think that he, in my opinion, felt something or got nervous about running for that baseball, whatever it was. And that kind of messed him up. Then his very next pitch, it's a bad one. He had been getting outs with his cutter all game. I'm going to talk about that in the next segment. All game, he was getting outs with his cutter. So I'll throw my cutter, but he didn't throw with conviction. He didn't throw it hard. He just kind of lays it in there. 2-run homer, tie game. Then he gets a pop-up, walks a batter. There's a catcher's interference that took away what looked like a ground out. And then you get another walk before Senga gets pulled. Brooks Raley comes in with the bases loaded, took a back foot slider back foot sweeper a little bit too literally. He was ahead 0-2, and then he hit the batter with that sweeper on his back foot, and that forced it a run. Then he got a strikeout and then a ground out to get out of the jam, and that closed the book on Kodai Senga, who goes 4 1/3 and gives up those 3 runs. So another bad start for Senga. Only one of them was earned because of the error that he made. Not getting to that ball. But Senga, I think it's just going to take some time for him to get through this. I just hope that whatever happened on that play, it doesn't affect him moving forward, and he can get back on track. But the Mets, after that, you had Raley stayed on the next inning. He ended up giving up a hit, got an out, and then Ryan Stanek came in a 1-run game, was able to get through that inning, which I'm sure was nerve-wracking for every Mets fan watching the game. Gregory Soto gets through the next inning, does give up a hit and a walk, but still is able to get his way through it. Tyler Rogers works around a walk. He puts up a 0. So the bullpen was solid once again outside of the hit batter with bases loaded. But, that was really the only real big mistake made by the bullpen. And you had a chance in the 9th inning to still win a baseball game. And the Mets actually lose on a play at the plate because Starling Marte does a great job with 2 outs. He rips a line drive into right center field. He was actually down the count 0-2 against a good closer and still able to rifle a line drive, gets on second base. Jeff McNeil gets a base hit, but Marte gets gunned out at the plate. Perfect play by Blake Perkins, run, charges it well, comes up firing, strong throw home. It was as good of a play at the plate as you can have when it comes to how they defended it. But Marte just can't get in there. And of course, then after the game, we're back to questioning coaches. Now, I can't say that it wasn't a mistake to not have Tyrone Taylor out there to pinch run for Starling Marte. But what I will say is watching the game, I did not think of it on top of my head. I was not thinking about running for Marte because in the past, Starling Marte was a good runner. Now he's 36 years old, not nearly as good of a runner, and Tyrone Taylor absolutely is quicker. And when there's a play at the plate and it's just that close, you can go back in time and say, yeah, Carlos Mendoza probably should have put Tyrone Taylor out there. And it's a small mistake by the manager in the larger scheme of the game. But when things are as tenuous as they are right now for the New York Mets, every mistake comes back to bite you. And that was a clear mistake by Mendoza. He should have had Tyrone Taylor out there. There's no excusing that, okay? It's the 9th inning. You're down by 1. That's the winning run. It's 2 outs. You have a guy up that very well can hit a single, and he does, and you have to score on that play. You have to score that run because then all of a sudden this can be a momentum-changing win for the New York Mets. Maybe after that, who was batting next after McNeil? Off the top of my head, I cannot recall. What was it? You had Alvarez next. And Alvarez has been giving good at-bats, so all of a sudden Francisco Alvarez, he rips a double and McNeil scores, and who knows? Maybe all of a sudden you're in position to win a baseball game, and now Edwin Diaz or Ryan Helsley's coming out there for the 9th. But instead, final out at the plate. It just goes to this theme of a lack of urgency, and that's what I want to talk about next here. Are the Mets just comfortable knowing that there's really no competition in this NL wildcard race as the Reds are this weekend getting beaten up by the Pirates, who have taken the first 2 games of a 4-game set, and they just think, yeah, we're going to back our way in there. We'll figure it out. We can get our best team on the field in September. Who cares about August? Is that's what they're doing? Because at times it feels like it. So I want to talk about that in just a minute here. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Ever decide at the last minute they want to head to the ballpark with friends or family? Maybe you don't even decide in the last minute, because I'll tell you what, my dad is in Milwaukee right now. He was not there for this first game, so don't blame it on him. He's going to try to turn the luck on Saturday, but even though they've had this trip planned for weeks now, they still haven't gotten their tickets yet, because I've told them, and they know, Game Time will give them their tickets at the best possible price, and the prices actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. So they're going to wait till they're walking to the ballpark, and then they will get their tickets from Game Time. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an upcoming MLB game like Mets versus Brewers this weekend. You can view your receipt before you buy it, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps. You are all set. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code Locked On MLB. That's LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. If you're watching on YouTube today, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Help us get closer to our next goal of 15,000 subscribers. Now, I want to get into my rant about a lack of urgency, but first, I don't think I was able to fully break down Kodai Senga's start. And I do think that he looked good early. And there was one pitch working, that was his cutter, which is ironic because that's the same pitch that came back to bite him on that home run ball. But Senga did not have his ghost fork. And kind of alarming how few swing and misses he got. He didn't get any on that pitch, but just across his entire arsenal in this start, he got 2 whiffs on 28 swings. Not the Kodai Senga we know when he is at his best, because usually he can get plenty of swing and miss against any team. I will say the Brewers are a tougher team to get swing and miss on because it's a very contact-oriented lineup. So that's how they play. They put the ball in play. They use their speed. They don't have a lot of pop in their lineup. That's not what they are trying to do. Although if you put a 86-mile-per-hour cutter on a tee for Bryce Terang, yeah, they can still leave the yard a time and again here. But for Senga, the ghost fork still isn't quite there yet. And when he gets that pitch, that's how you know Kodai is on, when he has the ghost fork where he's able to just, throw it in the strike zone at times when guys aren't expecting it and just sort of steal a strike. He can throw it in or out of the zone and get soft contact, and he can just bury it on people and guys swing right through it. He didn't have that pitch, but I think what Kodai Senga showed in this start is he doesn't need to have his best stuff to get through, because that cutter got him through 4 innings of this game where he was just throwing that cutter low in the zone. He was accurate with it, and he was getting a bunch of balls on the ground. He had the first inning and the third inning where all 3 outs came via cutter, and of the 13 outs he got, 7 of them came on the cutter. So I think that was one pitch that you can take some encouraging signs of. He's still throwing hard. That's another good thing. He just has to iron out those mechanics a little bit and find that feel for the ghost fork again. And once he does, I think Kodai Senga will be fine, and you're going to ride it out no matter what, because he has the highest upside of any pitcher on their staff. So I understand that there is nothing to do but put Kodai Senga out there every 6 days and hope he eventually gets better. And I was encouraged in this start that he, through 4 innings, looked really good. And honestly, I thought he was going to make it through 6. And then he had the nightmare inning. And like I've already mentioned, who knows if that little chopper is what messed him up in this game. I sort of think it was. If there's no carryover, though, and he's completely fine and 100% healthy and is not feeling anything from that play or just anything in general, I think at some point we're going to see the Kodai Senga from the first half, and he will be a big difference maker down the stretch. But what frustrates me, and what has today's title of the show what it is, talking about urgency, is the fact that Paul Blackburn made a start in Syracuse tonight. And I can't believe I've gotten to the point with this starting rotation that I'm mad that Paul Blackburn is not making a start on Saturday, but I have reached that level of desperation because Paul Blackburn is throwing the ball well in Syracuse. And all the everyone's clamoring for the prospects, and trust me, I am too. But these guys are facing the same lineups, the same competition, And Paul Blackburn has been as effective in Syracuse as the prospects, and he brings you major league experience. So you know that when you throw him in a big league game, he's not going to be fazed by it. He's made plenty of big league starts. We don't know that yet about the top prospects. And this is not for me to say that Paul Blackburn should be prioritized over the prospects, or because you have Paul Blackburn, don't worry about the prospects. I think all of them should potentially be contributing in some way or the other. And I'm getting to the point where I'm wondering, do you just swallow a $34 million poison pill on that horrible Frankie Montas contract that you gave out? I don't know what you do. I really don't. But the fact that he is going to be the bulk guy, making the start on Saturday, not making the start, sorry, you're going to have an opener because they haven't listed a starter. So I'm sure it's going to be Reed Garrett going out there in the first inning. I don't think he's ever done that before. Let me look. Has Reed Garrett ever started a game in his big league career? Because I know this season, Oscar Brazaban was the opener. Let's see if he's ever started a game. He's never started a game, so we'll see how that works. Reed Garrett as the opener. That's my guess, because I don't think you're going to throw Helsley in the first. You're not going to throw Edwin in the first, and you just had Tyler Rogers pitch. I don't think you're going to have him throw, or Stanek. I don't think he would have pitched in this game if that was the plan. And that would be a horrible. Hey, let's take our struggling reliever and put him in front of our struggling starter. That would work. That'd be great. My guess is it's going to be Reed Garrett, or maybe it's Justin Hageman. And if it's Justin Hageman, I mean, I might just not watch the game. I mean, I will. I'm a glutton for punishment like all of you guys. But if that's the big move, we're going to start Justin Hageman. Why? Where's the urgency? Why does Paul Blackburn have to make another start in Syracuse? Frankie Montas made 4 starts in AAA. 4 starts. Gave up 21 runs in 14 and a third innings pitched. Paul Blackburn's made 8 starts. He has a 2.55 ERA. I should have pulled up. Let's see how many earned runs that is for Paul Blackburn over however many innings pitched, so we can just further illuminate how much better he's been in AAA than Montas was before he came back. So let's see here. Looking at the stats here for Paul Blackburn, his 8 starts in AAA. He has given up 12 earned runs and 42 and a third innings pitched compared to 21 and 14 and a third innings pitched. Are we sure that Frankie Montas is better than Paul Blackburn? Not who throws harder, but are we sure that he's better? Why not have Blackburn be the opener? And instead of being an opener, how about you have the two of them piggyback and more? See if you have a chance to win the game. And if you don't, and you're losing 5-0 because Blackburn sucks too, great. Well, then you put Montas out there and let him pitch under no pressure whatsoever. Maybe he'd pitch well under those circumstances. Maybe. I don't know. But instead, you're going to throw Reed Garrett out there, and then the second inning, that's going to cure all. Because you didn't have to face Sal Frelick, William Contreras, and Isaac Collins going up against Christian Yelich in the top of the second inning is going to, or the bottom of the second inning is suddenly going to fix Frankie Montas, and he's going to be good. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he is good, but I really don't know at this point. I feel like you either have to just swallow the poison pill, say, screw it, we're just going to cut him, or you stick him at the end of your bullpen and you pitch him in no leverage games. When you're losing by 4 runs, all right, stick Frankie Montas in the game, and you just forget about him for this season because he's been that bad. And where's the urgency? Or maybe there is no urgency because ultimately the Mets are still probably holding on to that 3.5 game lead in the wild card because no one's winning in the wild card except for at times the Marlins, but then they'll lose 3 after they've won. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a matter of it doesn't matter because they've now seen the way that the field has laid itself out, and they're looking at the Giants. They're looking at who, by the way, had promoted Drew Gilbert, and Gilbert made a diving catch in his first game. I haven't seen what he did offensively, but Drew Gilbert's up. So that's going to be something Mets fans are going to be following and getting mad at. And the Giants are 2 games over. Maybe Drew Gilbert and Jose Buda will make the playoffs for the Giants this year. Who knows? Maybe Blade Tidwell will come up and be great. I don't know. But it's frustrating me, the lack of urgency that everything's all right. And no, we'll figure it out. The hitting's going to come around. The hitting's going to come around. And it's not. And I hate to be the emotional fan today because typically I try to be the one that will be calm and say, hey, things will happen. They'll figure it out. And I don't know why the straw that broke the camel's back for me was Paul Blackburn making his 8th start in AAA when the plan is for Frankie Montas to pitch on Saturday. I just don't get why the Mets are better on Saturday with Justin Hageman on the roster over Paul Blackburn? I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe this is all a nice, elaborate plan where they're going to give Montas one last shot with an opener. If he is horrible, they're going to cut him and bring Paul Blackburn up to take his spot in the rotation. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Or maybe Paul Blackburn is going to make a 9th start in Syracuse next week, because I did the math. He still has one more week of eligibility on this rehab stint. You could have him down there for 30 days. I wonder what he's thinking about now. I wonder how he's feeling. I'm going into free agency, and I'm pitching in AAA all year because the Mets have too good of a rotation to call me up, but too bad of a rotation to win any games. I wonder how Blackburn is taking all this. Curious. I love to see Nolan McLean up. I'd love to see Brendan Sprode up. But at least give me Blackburn, I guess. I don't know. It just feels like you're going into Saturday with another scheduled loss because Frankie Montas is going to pitch more than anybody else for the Mets. They are going to have Frankie Montas try to go out there and soak up some outs. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. But you know what? When you rail this loudly and angrily against a player, chances are he's going to come through. And so maybe he does. Maybe Frankie Montas pitches the 2nd through the 7th inning and looks unbelievable, and all you needed was to stick an opener in front of him. But I just like to see this team play with a little more urgency. I like for them to be so on top of what's going on that they don't make a mistake like not putting Tyrone Taylor out there to pinch run from Starling Marte in that 9th inning. That they're thinking that far ahead and thinking we can still win this game. Let's put our best base runner on second base right now to try to win with a single. Let's go to the top prospects who are carving in AAA and just find a way to make them part of this team, because maybe they'll give you some life. Maybe one of them will actually get you through 6 innings. And how about the guys in the starting lineup actually just figure out a way to be good offensive players again? I know it's easier said than done. I couldn't hit better than any of them. That's for sure. But, man, when it goes bad like this, it gets very hard to watch. That's going to be all for this edition of Locked On Mets, though. We're just doing 2 segments today because brutal game. What else am I going to say? Hopefully, the Mets will give us a little bit more to talk about on tomorrow's show on the positive side of things. Or maybe it'll just be a continuous train wreck and there'll be so much bad to talk about that we'll be able to fill 3 segments. We'll see what happens. But I'll be back tomorrow to give you a recap of whatever happened in this game and a breakdown of any and all of the news that we get. And we'll see if the Mets can make it out of Milwaukee with the win. Seems like their best chance was Sean and I on Sunday, but maybe Frankie Montas will surprise us. And that opener is going to be great, whoever it is. If it's Justin Hageman, I might sell a little bit of my David Stearns stock. Probably not. I'm too much of a fanboy over everything Stearns has done for this franchise. But times like this, a little bit harder. Wave that David Stearns flag and say, oh, he's the best GM or executive in the sport. I still think he probably is in the top 5. But, man, the way the Mets are going about their business right now, it just feels too lackadaisical. And they'll still probably make the playoffs, and maybe they go for a run, and this will just be a forgotten podcast in the middle of the dog days of August. That's what we can all hope for. Again, that's going to be all. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you want to be a Locked On Mets insider, you can find a link in the episode description. Go to subtext.com/LockedOnMets to be part of our texting service. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first watch or your first listen every day. Now, for your second watch, head over to YouTube and check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 streaming channel. Covers everything in the world of sports with our local experts from each team, league-wide experts from each league. You can find Locked On Sports Today streaming 24/7 on YouTube.